Welcome to the Nonessential Podcast. I'm Steve Gibson.
I'm Ben Matlock.
And I don't have as big of an intro as last week because I kind of froze up. I almost called it our old podcast name. It's going to be a while before I quit doing that, but...
Well, the old podcast was also non-essential, so...
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're back. Somehow we did it again. Another week.
Chinese pirates and...
I can't wait till, we get a couple months into this and we're just like withering away. It was just, there turns out there was no content on the internet this week.
It's going to happen. I feel like I'm getting there already. Like I have a whole bunch of stories I want to do, but then you get into them and like half of them aren't really very well suited, especially since I'm not used to this timetable yet, because we talked about it a little bit last week, but I'm starting to get confused about like what our current like show out there is and what we're currently working on and recording, and
what's being edited right now, and yeah.
Right. So if you follow us on Twitter and I say something and you're like, what the hell are you talking about, it means I slipped up and you got a sneak peek into the next show.
Or we'll accidentally put the wrong one out like a week early or something. I'm just it's amazing how we managed to take like something like dicking around on the internet and turning it into kind of a like job. I don't know how we managed to pull that off, but the train's still running on time.
Right,
so
right.
We're
and people are still listening, so thank you all for that. That's exciting.
Yep. You're
not
good.
Used to it yet.
You're good people, and if you're not listening, then you're not good people, but you're not listening, so you don't know that.
All right.
So, yeah, if you know someone who's not listening to the show, let them know that I said they're not good people.
Unless they listen. Well, we change our mind. We're very easy to like flip-flop our opinions.
It's not even a flip-flop. It's a criteria. You're a good person if you hear this show and give me money.
I can't wait till we get the letter. The guy on like death row for like slaughtering a school full of nuns, but he listens to our show and you're like, well...
He should be pardoned.
Yeah.
Maybe, life with access to a computer and
podcast,
internet,
right?
Because we need our download numbers to stay good. But yeah, episode 4.
Yeah,
I got
episode 4.
It's amazing because I said episode 3 a million times last week, and then by the end of the episode, I forgot what episode number we were on. So that's a good sign. Once you lose track after 3.
I was going to say, it makes sense when you're like 237 episodes in and you kind of forget exactly which episode number you're on, but we're episode 4.
But we just kind of talked about, like, we forget what we fucking talked about. So, like, my topic today is related to something I brought up, I believe, in episode 1, but I don't fucking remember. I don't even know if I mentioned it on the show, or we just, like, it was a regular, like, just a normal chit-chat between us.
That's what gets hard about having we had for those of you that didn't listen to it, which is basically 100% of the people in the world. We had a podcast before, a video game centric podcast, and it's getting tough sometimes to not be like, oh, I've talked about this before. It's like, well, yeah, but not on this show. That's completely different. Like, not the same subject matter, whole different format. But so I don't expect you all to go back and listen through 8 years worth of video game podcasts.
I actually do. You should.
Ben's a little stricter.
I'll send you the hard drive with all the episodes on it. Just a little light, listening. It's not even light reading. You don't even have to read. You just have to listen to years of us talking about game news that is completely irrelevant.
Right. That's the problem when you're chasing current events. Like, it becomes pretty irrelevant pretty quickly. But
yeah, and then you become irrelevant. And
well, we started there.
Yeah,
so.
We started from the bottom, and now we've kind of moved parallel. I haven't quite got to the top yet, but we're working on it. Another 20 years, and we will have our download numbers where they need to be.
You'll be able to buy the non-essential watch. It's like the Apple Watch, except specifically branded for us.
But it's like one of those watches you get from like one of those old like crane games, like at an arcade. Yeah. That's like, it doesn't actually work, but everybody wants to try to win it for some reason.
Maybe it'll be a little person that you lower down. That's a throwback to last week's episode. If you haven't listened, go back and listen.
Yeah, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, you're going to be really lost today when we talk about something completely different.
That's what I love about this show. It's not serial, so if you miss an episode, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you might miss some inside jokes, but our jokes suck anyway. So,
like for instance, today you don't need to know who Lima Hong is to know about pirates, or yes, you do, I guess. You need to know about vampires.
No, because Lima Hong was not a vampire,
as far as we know.
Yeah, well, true.
We're talking about vampires today. I kind of mentioned it in the first episode, I think, one of their interesting traits, which we'll talk about, from ancient vampires. But, you know, when you think vampires, what do you think of first, Steve?
Well, I just kind of think vampires suck.
I think the Underworld series, so basically the same thing. You know, but, you know, before Underworld and whatever the fuck, you know, Twilight was, like, you probably thought of Dracula.
Right.
At least our ancestors did.
Or Count Dracula, but that's still a Dracula.
Yeah. So, like everybody kind of knows, Dracula was inspired by Vlad the Impaler. Now, in popular Western culture, Vlad is always depicted as, like, this bloodthirsty sadist. Like, it's way more interesting, you know, to kind of, like, he didn't just impale people, he
bathed in their blood.
Shit like that. But in Romania, they actually see him as, like, a war hero who drove off the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things that gets overlooked, it's like, oh, he impaled his enemies, and he did, or at least it seems like he did, but he was defending. He was not the aggressor.
Well, he had an interesting life. Like, I could do a whole episode probably about Vlad the Impaler, and maybe I will one day. But the thing I think is kind of funny is to, like, if you really break down history and that time, like, to be a war hero, you were a bloodthirsty sadist. Like, it's not a mutually exclusive, like, yeah, he was a defender, but he was also a fucking, like, nightmare for the Ottoman Empire. Like, you don't impale people. Like,
and from what I remember, I mean, again, Vlad gets interesting because it's such a mix of, like, mythology and truth, and just history itself gets been. We talked about that a couple episodes ago with Queen Ranavalona,
right?
Where things get written through one perspective. But what I've learned with Vlad is when he impaled people, he'd do it in such a way to make sure it didn't kill them. I mean, it did eventually, but not like, haha, you're impaled and you just died instantly. It was more like, haha, you're impaled and you'll die over the next day or so.
Yeah, and that's the fucking worst.
Right.
God, dude. Like, could you imagine, like, a worse, like, thing than impalement? I mean, you could, but it's always the, like, you know.
I've got my, like, list of ways that I'm terrified. Like, we're all going to die, and I'm not particularly eager to meet, you know, my end yet. But I've got my list, like I assume many people do, of ways I really don't want to go. And impalement, or, like, having my guts spilled out. You hear about that all the time, where you get, like, your torso ripped open. Right, but you live, because that doesn't kill you instantly. It kills you, but not instantly. But you would look down and see your guts and know, well, I'm fucked. Like, there would be that.
Yeah, like, there's so many, like, there's so many ways to kill a person that doesn't just off them, you know? Like they have to live with that shit for a little while. And it's like, could you have made the human body, like, any worse if, like, you tried?
So, yeah, that's up. Having things lopped out, like, and this one would kill you relatively. And so you hear the, like, oh, you live for 10 seconds or whatever, but decapitation's up there. I don't want to be decapitated. You know, once I'm dead, you know, good and dead, you can decapitate me all you want, but that's not how I want to go.
Right. So, like, with Vlad, I like I kind of said, you could do a whole episode on him, and, like, I think that would actually be a pretty good one to do. Like, I have a book of, like, people like this who just have a ton of, like, fiction surrounding, like, how, like, fucked up they were.
FBI, take note.
There you go. Yeah, I'm boning up. But you know, right now I'm trying to talk about vampires, so, you know, the question always comes up was, like, did he actually drink human blood? And since it was so long ago, like, kind of the best you can answer is, like, you know, maybe, but probably not.
my thing is, back then with the way that medicine and diseases and stuff were, anybody that was rumored to drink human blood probably didn't live a very long life if they did it. Because
well, I don't believe Vlad lived a very long life, so maybe that lends credence to the theory.
I don't think he died of natural causes either, though.
That's true.
I don't remember, but I don't think so. I think it was a pretty swift end for old Vladdy.
Well, where the whole idea that he did drink blood first kind of originated was there was like a poem that came out during his life about him, which probably made him feel kind of awkward. That's how I would feel if somebody wrote a poem about me while
the Ballad
I was alive.
of Ben.
Like, I would just assume, like, okay, well, I guess we're getting married because you wrote a poem about me. And that's how marriage works. That's what love is.
Ladies, if you're listening, take note.
Yep, just write me a poem. I'm an easy sell. But when the poem came out, or not when it came out, but when researchers sort of discovered the poem and analyzed it, like the first people to look at it kind of famously misinterpreted it. And they thought it was like saying that he was like dipping his bread in the blood of his victims. But
it was his balls, right? He was dipping his balls.
Well, that's the thing. Like the actual meaning, the supposed actual meaning, is really not that much better. Where it's that he washed his hands in the blood of his victims before dinner. Both are
makes sense.
Both are really gross and not mutually exclusive. You could do both.
Well, I mean, yeah, technically, if you dipped your hands in blood and then ate bread, it would be basically the same thing.
Yeah, like if he's licking his fingers or whatever, and they fucking did that shit in the 1500s. They didn't use napkins. They would be insulted if you offered one.
Yeah, napkins were invented in like 1803. That's one of my shows coming up in the next few weeks.
Oh, that's can we get a guest host for that one? I got to be out of town. But yeah, again, who knows if that actually happened. I also read stories that he would just pour blood into like wine glasses to kind of intimidate people who would like eat dinner with him, which sounds a little more believable to me than him just like constantly guzzling blood. And by the way, my retro arcade brawler, Guzzle Blood, coming to Kickstarter. Yeah. But like you kind of mentioned, the problem with knowing how fucked up Vlad actually was versus what his kind of legend grew to be was that it was so long ago, and every like detailed thing written about him was during his life. And during his life, he was always in a conflict of some sort.
Yeah, and my understanding is he was all about playing up those things because it was mental warfare. I mean, yeah, your enemies are less likely to come attack you or more likely to surrender right away if they think you're gonna like.
Well, that's his side would want him to seem as like fearsome of a defender as possible, and his enemies would want him to seem as like monstrous as possible. So we know he was a brutal fucking like 1500s goddamn monster on the battlefield, and as far as like doing whatever he thought was necessary to defend Romania or whatever. But it's the whole like blood drinking thing. There's not really a lot behind that couldn't be dismissed as sort of, wartime propaganda. But it's very likely that Bram Stoker kind of picked up on that one aspect and merged it with already existing ideas of vampires. Kind of came out way before Vlad.
It's just like a happy coincidence. It's like, I need a guy that's got a bunch of notoriety, and then we know vampires drink blood. Well, this guy supposedly drank, but perfect. Like that's what you call a happy accident.
Yeah, it's probably a perfect storm of like this historical figure, this kind of naturally creepy inspiration for a setting. And then you have just hundreds and hundreds of years of ideas of like blood-sucking monsters that, go way past Vlad. Like vampires, we think of them today. They're like the Revenant variety. They're, which is corpses brought back from the dead. But, the idea or the original ideas of vampires were like demons and spirits that, that you can see them in like, Chinese fiction, Slavic origin. you know, it's really just it's another aspect of death that humans would use to terrify themselves.
We're very good about making ourselves afraid of everything in the world around us.
Absolutely. And anything that reminds us of our mortality, it instantly goes to like the top of like what we're afraid of. The Revenant idea, the whole they came back from the dead thing, didn't really come about until medieval times, where instead of like nowadays, it's like if you're bit by a vampire, you become one. For them, it was you always came back from the grave, and a sign of a vampire wasn't that you were bitten, it was that you had some physical abnormality or birth defect. So it was as simple as like, you got weird teeth, you're a Dracula.
I'd be fucked. Like
a fucked up boil on your head, you so Dracula. Yeah. Like, you know, it's medieval times. Anything and everything was an evil omen. So vampires were just a great excuse for any time anything shitty happened.
Yeah.
So besides physical abnormalities, like how you identified a vampire, it could vary, but there was one great method from Romania that I loved. The idea was that since they believed that it was, they would actually come out of their grave, what you would do was send a 7-year-old boy dressed in white, riding a white horse into a graveyard. Whichever grave was closest to wherever the wandering horse would stop and like lay down would be where the vampire was buried.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so there's a lot of fucking weird shit in there. One, it's probably the easiest gig a horse could have at that point in time, because you literally you don't have to run, you don't have to go into battle, you just have to take a brisk walk in a cemetery, and
then take a nap. Apparently,
like you wouldn't even have to move. Like you could just walk into the cemetery, immediately lay down, and the townsfolk would be like, "My God, he's found it." You know, like
kill it,
yeah, dig it up, and we'll get to that. But what was the boy for? Like nowhere in the method it's like it's got to be. And why does it have to be 7 years old? Why is he dressed in white?
I'm glad you're asking the exact same questions that I wanted to ask you. So
yeah, I wish I had answers, but like none of the articles really like broke down like what the boy was for, except I guess like a vampire would be like tempted, but it's like if the horse is going to detect the vampire, why do you need bait? Like,
right?
It's such a fucking weird method, I guess.
Well, I mean, part of being a vampire, you drink blood, you don't have a reflection, you're a Catholic priest.
Yeah. So what do we know about vampires? What are their actual characteristics? What are their weaknesses? We all have a modern idea of them, but I talked about it on the first episode, I believe, where their original idea were that like they were these obsessive compulsive ghouls. So if you were being chased by one, or you just didn't want one to like break into your house, you would drop a bag of rice outside your door, and these dipshits would just stop what they were doing to count it.
Well, and that's got to be where, because this is one of the more, when I think vampires and anti-vampire like countermeasures, you think cross and garlic and sunlight. But then there's the one that I always forget about, that supposedly like modern day vampires, like they can't just come into a house, they have to be invited in.
Right.
And that sounds like that obsessive compulsive, like some random rule that makes no sense. You're killing manners. People and stalking. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you, but only if you invite me in.
Yeah, and you should invite me in, because I'm being nice waiting for an invitation. So what the fuck's your problem? So yeah, and when they fucking believed this shit, like they did a similar thing during burials, where you would put grains of whatever the fuck into a coffin, and if this vampire woke up, they would be up all night counting. I think this is a really fucking hilarious. Like, I love really like old school ideas to like you believed this shit. You believed it was this fucking horrible demon spirit that was going to like do you or your family harm, but it has such a wholesome, like, like Grimm's fairy tale solution of just like just have them count like grains of sand at the beach, and then you'll be good. Which was an actual thing. Was like you can take them to the beach, and they'll be so fucked up by like how much they have to count. They'll be
then, see that always gets me too. It's like because people. These things come into lore and they're like, well, it makes sense because they're obsessive compulsive and they have to count. So take them to the beach and the grains of sand. It's like, well, then wouldn't the blades of grass already do that, or the pebbles in the road? Like, if they have to count everything, there's already a lot of stuff everywhere that, like, if I had to count the threads in my fucking carpet, like, that would take me eternity. So basically, you're just safe from vampires.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, the OCD trait hasn't really survived into the modern day with the whole vampire legend, but that's okay because my favorite thing about vampires are all the set in stone rules they have. We're talking years of fiction where the rules have held firm, such as they can transform into bats or wolves except when they can't. They don't cast a reflection except the ones that do. They're weak to sunlight, except the ones that are randomly not. They don't like garlic, but sometimes some do, or at least it doesn't bother them too much. And they're horrifically ugly, except all the ones that are hot as fuck.
Narrows it down quite a bit.
There are no fucking rules to vampires. I don't know how, like, seeing where vampires started to what they have become now is like the biggest mindfuck of like getting my notes ready for today, because it's just like, how did this start? Like, I could come up with anything and it would make just as much sense. Like a dragon shits them out, you know.
It's like the Superman of the like supernatural world, where it's just the abilities and the weaknesses change to fit the story. So like if they're like, well, Farmer Bill just got killed by a vampire, it's like, isn't he a garlic farmer? Well, yeah, but this vampire didn't mind garlic.
Right. Like you don't even have to go too far back. Like the 1900s was where it made that jump. Like we had fucking Nosferatu, and then like suddenly we got into like fucking, we're making Brad Pitt or whatever a vampire. It's like, that doesn't work.
I hate that fucking movie too. Everybody disagrees with me and says it's such a great movie, but it's like 13 hours long.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever sat through it all the way.
That's awful. Well, when I say it's awful, it's a perfectly good movie, but it's like an hour-and-a-half movie and a 3.5-hour movie like time frame. Like nothing happens for 2 hours, and it's like the point. They want to make it seem like, oh, look at all this time passing. It's like,
but I'm aging with them.
Right, I've got things to do. Come on,
send help. So, how are you supposed to actually kill vampires in the time when they believed in this shit? You know, in fiction, we see like one of the more consistent ways is that you just put a stake through the heart, and shit like Buffy the Vampire Slayer would make you believe they just like poof into ash. But the idea behind that actually comes from a real preventative measure that originated in Europe. If you thought somebody was going to come back as a vampire, you actually stake them into the ground, pinning them through the chest. And oddly enough, like we always depict it as like it's a wooden stake or whatever. But in mythology back then, they believed that vampires and other magical creatures were afraid of iron rather than like wood. So an iron bar was seen as way more effective than like a wooden stake. And the more I kind of think about it, the more I think we might want to bring this back. Like, I don't believe in vampires, but why not be safe?
Right.
Like, if we're going to insist on keep burying people, let's, just drill a fucking rod down there with them, and, you can keep visiting them. Like, we could put a big sign on there or something, and like you'll be easy. It'll be easy to spot Grandpa's grave, kids. We're gonna just and we don't want him coming back.
Right. I know you loved him, but he's done. He's gone.
But that's what I loved about it, is like the idea wasn't that this actually killed them. It was just they were pinned to the ground, so they couldn't like move.
Couldn't get out.
So it's actually
then you could like go to the grave, and you just hear like, God damn it, This hurts, bleh.
So another method for vampire disposal, and a pretty goddamn brutal one at that, was decapitation. After cutting off the head of a suspected vampire, for some reason, they would shove garlic or a brick into the severed head's mouth. I'm not sure why garlic and bricks were considered equally effective.
Equal, yeah.
But I'm not a vampire hunter, so I don't fucking know. Now, some people don't actually believe this was a real practice, but there was a, quote, vampire grave uncovered on the Venetian island of Nuovo Lazaretto. They found a woman's skull where there was a brick lodged in her mouth.
But are they positive that was a vampire thing, or maybe she died of choking on a brick? Like,
well, she was kind of, I guess, in like a tomb, so people thought like the brick just like fell into her mouth over the course of, years or whatever. But there is a photo of it, and we'll have our work cited shit up on that with the episode. All this stuff I got from a site called livescience.com, and hard science, like vampire shit, so it's good. It was actually a really entertaining couple of reads, but the photo they put up of it makes it seem like it's lodged in there pretty good. Like it's definitely possible, but it looks like somebody shoved a fucking brick up this woman's mouth. The one thing,
maybe though, it was a woman that just wouldn't shut the fuck up. So when she died, the husband's like, just to make sure you don't come haunt me, here's the brick to.
Did you just like take my wife, please? This whole bit, like, I take my wife everywhere, but she keeps sucking my blood. But like, the one thing we know for sure is that when you look at the skull, there are no vampire fangs, and the woman probably just got fucked over really hard by some paranoid dipshits of her time.
Right. Well, like you said, that's the fucked up thing. Is mostly it was the people they suspected is like, she died of like polio or something horrible, and they're like, oh, she had a deformity, vampire. It's like she already suffered.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you look at like the Salem witch trials or whatever, and you realize like that was just one more stupid population's excuse to like kill people who were different
or cause problems, or like maybe they owned the farmland that you wanted. It's like, which.
Right, and like for older civilizations, vampire was a common cop-out. What's hilarious is that you would probably talk to like the people of Salem, and they would be like, oh, vampires, that's bullshit. But witches. Yeah.
Though I think that's the blessing of I'm sure there's exceptions, but most of what I've ever seen on vampires, and I'm not a big vampire person, was after the fact, like after the person was already dead. I've never come across like mass like executing somebody because you thought they were a live vampire, because of what you said. Back in the day, vampirism was something that happened to a corpse. It wasn't like,
right,
oh, James over there at night turns into a vampire.
Yeah, it was a scapegoat for just like I said, anytime something was wrong, somebody either came back from the grave, or in certain populations, I'm sure it was like, oh, they are a vampire, and they came back from the grave a long time ago, and now they're fucking everything up.
All my goats are gone. Yeah, you left the gate open. Vampire did it.
You actually don't have a fence at all, or goats.
You're not a goat farmer. You're a cobbler.
You just woke up one day, my goats are gone. A witch.
Send a child into the graveyard on a horse.
Yeah, so, I hope all this information served you a ton of purpose. Unfortunately, there are actually no vampires, so it probably didn't.
That's bullshit, Ben. Vampires are real.
Well, the bad news is that there are people who believe they are vampires. And if you run into somebody who does, feel free to let them know about the dangers of iron overdosing. Because I'm sure they feel very weird and special after feeding on blood. That's because blood is toxic in in very large quantities, because it's just full of iron. So yeah, it's killing your liver and your nervous system. That's why you feel super powered. And by that, I mean, Ben, you feel fucking sick.
I'm one of those vampires that instead of feeding off of blood, I feed off of tequila. I can tell because every time I have it, I feel special.
I feel special. This is the essence of life, surely. But yeah, I just wanted to do a crash course in vampirism today because I mentioned that OCD thing, and I realized like there's probably a few more interesting details.
A lot. One thing that I'll add, just because I know there's a show I love. It's called Expedition Unknown. It's hosted by Josh Gates. And one of the first season, he did a show on, like, he travels around and does a lot of, like, half archaeological, half mythological, and he'll, like, talk about the culture. But he went to Romania to, like, quote unquote, investigate the vampires.
To kill vampires.
Yes, yeah. And the reason he went over there is because there was a case just, like, recently, like, early 2000s, where a town dug up some guy's corpse and like staked the shit out of it because they swore he was a vampire. Of course, like, that's not something that's allowed to go on over there. The people got, when they like found out who it was, you know, they would,
I swear, he's a vampire. Not anymore.
It is very illegal to do that over there, but there's still like small groups over there that still believe this stuff. And you can find, like you said, the brick thing I hadn't heard of, but it's very common, especially in Romania and surrounding, you know, Eastern European areas, to find graves from those time periods where people are, like you said, staked into the ground.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
Like,
so that's it's a thing, and traditions die hard.
What I love is that they did the decapitation thing, and then they shoved the brick in the mouth. Like, the thing was going to just, like, the head was going to fly out like a fucking Castlevania enemy or some shit. And you, like...
Oh, no, the floating head can still bite me. The brick will stop it, though.
But, and again, you know, garlic or a brick, like, if you put garlic in there, is it going to just take a bite and be like,
Well, now I think I figure it. See, I don't know if the brick is to weigh the head down so it can't float around, or to prevent it from biting, or both. Probably but the both. Garlic maybe makes the breath so bad it doesn't want to open its mouth to bite you. It's like, oh man, I'm embarrassed. Yeah, I can't use a toothbrush. I don't have hands.
I can't magically hypnotize women like this. The aroma will completely knock them out of it. They'll be like, man, Drac, why do you fucking smell like shit?
Can I come in? Not with that breath. Fuck.
Dracula lonely. Bleh.
Vampirism. Maybe I'm a little more interested in it now than I was before.
I think, you know, we kind of ruined a good thing for ourselves with those shitty fucking movies that we make now.
Do I love a vampire or do I love a werewolf? I do not know.
Right, like we made it dumb and like soap opera-y, and like it's like there's a lot of fucking cool shit you could do with the whole like actual origin of a vampire in fiction, but we'll never do that because they're sexy, and maybe that's the trade-off. The stories are worse, but we're sexier as a whole. So
yeah, and that always wins out.
Yeah. So that's what I got this week.
All right. Well, mine I mentioned before the show I'm really excited for, so that means it'll probably be awful. But
yeah, I'm actually heading out now, so you...
I think it's pretty good, and it's pretty good in a truly horrible way. So you know how some professions are just so cool, it's like impossible to retire without having like one of the weirdest or most amazing stories you've ever heard. Like maybe if you're a astronaut or a podcaster. Like the shark... Yeah, podcaster, you know. All right. So, being born in 1882, Douglas Mawson attended college in Australia, majoring in geology. His major influences were Professor Edgeworth David and Professor Archibald Liversridge. Awesome names. He became a lecturer in petrology and mineralogy, and he was the first to identify and describe the mineral davidite, which I assume he named after Professor Edgeworth David.
All right, hang on. What you just read was like the first like 3 sentences of like a textbook that I would totally start tuning a class out in college. It was like, it's Edgeworth and petrology and stupology and too many ologies, all right? Yeah, get down to brass tacks. Did you fight Nazis or not?
Oh, actually, yeah. But that comes way later, and it's not really part of my story because that's actually interesting. After college, he became a geologist. Like I said, profession that's impossible not to have an amazing story about.
And
his first expedition to the Antarctic was with the Nimrod expedition. Seriously, like, can you imagine telling your parents, like, hey, I'm off to the South Pole, I'm going to be one of the first people to visit it. They're cool, who are you going with? They're like, Nimrod.
With Green Day.
Anyway, so while he was down there, he loved it so much he stayed an extra year with his professor, well, not anymore professor, but now colleague, Edgeworth David. I kind of think they had like some, one of those like student professor things.
So his first name was Edgeworth?
Edgeworth.
That's pretty.
Like literally Edge and then Worth, like just crammed together.
Well, I mean, that's
Edgeworth.
A character in Phoenix Wright. But his name's Miles Edgeworth.
Oh, this is a first name. And then he's got a first name for a last name, so... Yeah, it's Australia, though. Everything's upside down, right?
Right.
So anyway, he stayed down an extra year, and his party was the first to summit Mount Erebus, and they reached the South Pole, blah, blah, blah. He was offered a spot on another expedition, but declined because he wanted to lead his own. And that's where the story really starts. The way that this, like you said, I did that on purpose. The start of this, it's like, oh, geology, petrology, Edgeworth, livers, what the fuck? The article I came across was titled "The Most Terrible Polar Expedition Ever." That's a little bit of foreshadowing for you, kiddos. That's what that's called. So anyway, Mawson declined to join this other expedition and instead led the Australasian expedition because they're terrible at, it should be Austra-Asian.
They're worse at naming shit than we are.
Right. Australasian. Like, how the fuck do you say that? And it seemed like it was all out of Australia, so I don't know where they crammed Asian on the end, but whatever.
Australasian?
So he's leading the expedition, and he decides what they're going to do is they're going to go down there, and they're just going to chart some like uncharted areas of the Antarctic. And he wanted to split up into 4 teams. And if we've learned anything from any horror movie ever, splitting up is always the best possible choice. Mawson decided he would lead the group that's going to the furthest and most dangerous point. Good choice. And he'd be taking with him a Lieutenant Belgrave Ninnis and his good friend Xavier Mertz. These are all
H.P. Lovecraft characters. They're going to end up in a fucking cavern, and some fucking octopus horror is going to suck their brains out.
So Belgrave Ninnis came from the British Army. He'd be the dog handler. The best part is this guy, Xavier Mertz. He was just a very good friend of this British Army, this Ninnis guy. And literally the article I was reading said his qualifications were basically he was a Swiss lawyer. So they brought him along because they were friends. They loved his funny accent. Literally,
they brought him along because there had to be one like
Borgy, Snowby Borgy.
Well, there had to be like one guy who's like, oh, he'll never survive, but he ends up being the one dude who does.
I fought the bears and I won.
Well, I made my friends fight the bears and they didn't win, but I got away.
In fairness, his actual qualification was that he was a champion cross-country skier, although cross-country skiing and exploring the Arctic are two completely fucking different. It's like they both have snow, so congratulations, you're qualified.
I bet he wished somebody told him that, because they're like, nah, it's exactly the same.
Exactly the same. You just put some skis on and go, man. You'll get a gold.
You'll probably be the best at it.
So they arrived at Commonwealth Bay. That's where the expedition was to kick off for. And the conditions were about as bad as you can expect from the fucking Antarctic. Said winds were generally the average wind speed was 50 miles an hour, which here, when the wind gets up to that, I don't like wind. Wind ruins everything. So average wind speed 50 miles an hour, but they could reach up to 200 miles an hour. I didn't put this in my notes, but I came across it in one of the things I was reading. It's talking about the cold, and not in this particular case, but it's talking about the different things that the cold would do to you. Because this was back in 1912, so they didn't have all the scientific layers of clothing that can heat just from your body sweat and turn it into thermonuclear reactions or whatever. They had like wool clothes that got wet and then were heavy and fucking cold. And they said down in the Antarctic, it would get so cold that the temperature would kill the nerves in your teeth, which would make your teeth die and shatter, like in your mouth. So why the fuck you'd want to go down there like on your own willingly? I don't know.
Well, do they have penguins?
Well, I don't know.
If there are penguins,
they don't play a role in the story if there are, but I think there are in the Antarctic. Huh.
That's a reason. I'm just saying, you know,
it's true. You go where the penguins are.
Yeah.
So anyway, winds were terrible. It was cold. Because they were going the farthest, they're a team that like had the farthest destination. They had to carry the most supplies, which of course meant more weight. The most fun part about exploring the Antarctic and the Arctic as well is that the ice is full of these. Well, yeah, that's literally the most fun part. The ice is full of these deep, and they use this word, and I love this word. I read it over and over again. Crevasses, not crevices, crevasses.
Crevassier from LaCroix.
It's a cologne that masks the scent of garlic so that vampires can.
It smells like a penguin. It's not great, but
the real bitch about these crevasses is that, you know, they're hundreds of feet deep, but they're covered by like snow gaps them, so you can't tell you're on one unless the snow collapses. So that sounds like a lot of fun. But anyway, so they left on November 10th, 1912. And the first legs of their journey, like for the first month, it went pretty well. And the first, from November 10th to December 13th, they'd covered 300 miles. But other than the speed, they wrote about, and Mawson made notes of some odd experiences that they had during that first month. And the way he put it was a superstitious man would think they were bad omens. Maybe he should have thought that they were bad omens. But I guess first he had like a weird dream. He described it as an odd vision of his father in his dream. When he had left home, his father was perfectly healthy, but he found out after the fact that shortly before his dream, his father suddenly got ill and died. So if you believe in those things...
So he's having like some No Country for Old Men ending shit where he's like, and I knew he'd be waiting for me out there in that cold. And then, like,
right.
It's like, well, that's promising.
It's funny because he listed it as like a bad omen, but you don't know it's a bad omen until after the fact. Like, you don't, it's not like they had a cell phone to call you up and be like, yep, that dream you had, your dad's dead. You know, as far as he knows, it was just a dream.
Wait, there's a note attached to that penguin. What's it say?
Quack, quack, dad, quack.
Yeah, penguins quack.
They kind of do. They make a weird, but, they said one of the omens was one of their sled dogs was pregnant and then gave birth to their puppies and then ate them.
Fuck.
But it also goes on to say that in conditions like the Arctic, it's not uncommon for an animal to eat for a dog to eat its puppies because yeah.
Yeah, but I don't want to fucking know that shit.
That's exactly what, they, even though it was common, it very much grossed them out. They were not pleased to discover that.
Murder is common. I don't want to fucking hang out with it. Like,
and then the third thing that they said is they were far inland, on this trip, and like out of fucking nowhere, this petrel, which is a bird, just flew in and slammed into the side of one of their sleds. So it's like, what the fuck was that? Like,
and there's literally fucking everywhere around you. Like, it's not like you're in the woods or something.
Out of 360 degrees it could travel, 359 of them were safe, and it chose to slam into the... And like the one guy even wrote in the thing, like, where the fuck did this bird come from? Like, it shouldn't have even been there, let alone to like fly into the side of one of their sleds.
That's a bird on a mission. Some rival scientist just said it, like, we have to stop their expedition. Crash into him, Falcon.
So yeah, those they could have taken as bad signs, but they didn't really. These they probably should have, but I guess it's just normal Arctic exploration. But, other than making good time, the Ninnis guy, he almost fell into crevasses on 3 separate occasions, but he didn't. Mawson, the guy that I'm talking to, the main dude here that's leading this thing, it said was suffering from a split lip. It didn't say like if he fell and hit it. My guess is that it was just so cold, his skin like fucking shit. Right.
Yeah.
But he said it was so bad, like his entire side of his face was just shooting pain. Ninnis, the guy, tried to fall into the crevices. They said developed about a snow blindness, which I kind of assume contributes to almost falling into crevices.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're familiar with snow blindness, but it's a bitch. It's not just like, oh, it's too bright out here and I can't see for a while.
In Man vs. Wild, if Bear Grylls didn't have sunglasses, he would take like dark fabric and like cut just the smallest of eye slits in them, so he could like walk on like snow or whatever, right, and not blind himself. Because it's basically just like roasting your eyeballs. Because when you're on snow and there's nothing overhead, there's no shade, there's nothing, all that sunlight that doesn't go directly into your eyes reflects and goes into your eyes. Yeah. So shout out again to the human body for just being A+ quality, being able to handle the elements perfectly.
And then they listed the same Ninnis guy. He seems to have the worst of the luck. He developed an abscess on his finger, which is like I don't know if you've ever had one. It's like a big infection, just like a pocket of pus that I get them and they're gross. And they said it was so bad that they had to lance it with a knife. And it's like, I've done that though. So I don't know if I'm like an Arctic hero or if it's
You're
just
like,
they're trying
ready.
to right.
My lips are chapped. I'm good to go.
But anyway, so over these first, month and 3 days or so, they're making good distance at least. And then the night of December 13th, they
it's been about a month, right?
Yeah, they left November 10th. This is December 13th, so just over a month. They make camp on a glacier. By this point, their supplies, they'd eaten through a lot of their supplies, so they decided they had 3 sleds, and they decided to leave one of them and just redistribute what was left across 2. It lightens your load. It helps the dogs out. It makes sense. But that night, while they were sleeping, they could hear the distant rumbling of cracking ice and booming sounds. They describe it as distant cannon fire. I guess what had happened, and they knew it, but temperatures had got up to a balmy 11 degrees below freezing, which they didn't specify in the article. I assume they mean Fahrenheit. There's 11 degrees Celsius below freezing would still be plenty cold, I would think.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But basically it warmed up to where it's still, I would be bitching about the temperature, but warm enough that these ice bridges, or snow bridges over these fissures in the ice were collapsing or just on their own. So that's always good.
Yeah.
Here's the absolute best part. So this was December 13th. They set this camp, and this is about where everything starts to go to hell. And just on a whim, I pull up the calendar and look. December 13th was a Friday. So, yeah, it was Friday the 13th.
I was born on a Friday the 13th. And
that explains a lot.
And coincidentally, another Arctic investigation went awry.
So you can't, that's one of those fun things when you're just like looking into a story. I'm like I said, oh, they made camp on the 13th. And just knowing what was about to happen, I'm like, I'm just going to fucking look this up. And sure enough, Friday. I don't believe in that shit, but a lot of people do.
But then again, I'm not going on a fucking Antarctic expedition. So.
Right. And you won't ever get me on one because I hate the cold. So the next day, which would be Saturday the 14th, for those keeping score, they set out. Now they've got 2 sleds. Mertz, the lawyer, he was in front of the party on his skis, so you could kind of scout out, look for crevasses and other various dangers. Mawson, the leader, was in the middle, and he was riding his sleigh, and Ninnis was in the back on his sleigh. So they said it was about midday, and Mawson was, they called it shooting the sun, which I'd love to imagine was literally like taking a rifle and trying to shoot the sun. Like, yeah, part of our scientific expedition is to see if the South Pole's close enough to the sun to kill it. But
to take over the sun.
Right. But obviously what they really mean, he is taking measurements of the sun. He is very good, and you'll see throughout the story, if nothing else, he was great at navigating. So that's what he was doing. He was taking measurements and navigating. And he noticed that Mertz in front that was on the skis had stopped and was holding one of his ski poles up in the air, which indicates that there was a crevice or some kind of danger coming up. So he shouted back to Ninnis in the back, and he went back to taking his measurements. But as he got closer to Mertz, he realized that Mertz was looking back at him with this kind of look of a look of alarm. So he turns around, and sure enough, Ninnis is just fucking gone. There's nobody behind him. And that's not good. So Mawson and Mertz turn around and backtrack, and they make it about a quarter mile back. Big gaping cavern in the ground.
Oh, my God.
So they belly up to the edge of this cavern, and they can see pieces of the sled, and there's a couple dogs on a ledge about 50 feet down. One's dead, one's whimpering and writhing around, but no sign of Ninnis. So apparently they must like their friends better than me, because they spent the next 5 hours, shouting for him. They sent a knotted rope down to measure the distance, and it was at least 150 feet deep. It was too deep for them to climb down, but no sign of him. He had fallen to his death.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
So as they were trying to figure out what the fuck happened, because both of them crossed this thing perfectly fine. They didn't realize there was a chasm there, but there was snow.
I wonder how loud
that's what I don't
was.
Get.
How do you not hear oh shit?
Right, or at least the cracking of the snow or something, you would think. And I don't know how far apart that they were.
Unless that guy dying was just stone cold about it, he didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's just that's my time.
I'll probably fucking make it. Tough as hell.
The kicker, and this was kind of neat to me that they kind of figured this out, but, they were wondering, how the fuck did we get across this? But then he fell to his death. Well, his fatal error had been, the first guy was on skis. Mawson was on his sled, but Ninnis had been running next to his sled. And the problem with that is when you're on a sled or skis, it spreads out your weight. When you're not, you're putting all that weight on a very small, the size of your foot step. Mm-hmm. So when he took that step onto this snow cap, that was enough to punch right through it and fell to his death.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. You couldn't pay me to go there.
No. Well, as if losing your friend isn't bad enough.
The whole of Antarctica is a fucking Mario ROM hack.
It's terrible. Like I said, all you have to do is tell me, A, it's cold, and B, there's these hidden death pits that you can't see unless they fall out from underneath you.
You'll get across there and be like, we made it, and then a thwomp just smashes you, and then you're done.
And the kicker is it's all just ice and snow. So it's we're going there to explore and map. It's congratulations, you mapped ice.
So it's the worst Mario ROM hack because it's all the ice levels.
Right, you're not finding cool-ass pyramids or ruins or waterfalls or hidden ancient society. No, it's, hey, I found ice over here. There's this other ice.
Holy shit, that sucks.
But anyway, so he fell to his death, and that sucks. Anybody dying sucks, but they were good friends. But what really sucks is if you back up a day, you'll remember that they had just redistributed all their supplies to 2 sleds.
Oh,
one of those sleds was now at the bottom of this fucking chasm. And, of course, that was the sled that held the majority of their food and also their tent. So, their friend is dead. Now they have about a week and a half's worth of food left and no tent.
And there's only one way this goes. Liam Neeson fights some wolves in a disappointing movie. That's the only thing that makes sense from here.
Right. Well, the good news is they were smart enough to say, well, fuck, let's head back. When 1/3 of your party's dead, you don't tend to say, let's trudge on. We were able to make it relatively quickly back to where they camped the night before, and they were able to take the sled that they had abandoned and kind of cut it up and convert it into a shelter. So at least they had some kind of shelter, but they still didn't have food. And at this point, they're 300 some miles away from base camp. It took them 34 days to get there. You
if these imagine. 2 fuckers have kids somehow and then eat the kids, I'm leaving.
That would have been a good solution. Well, their solution's about similar, but because anyway, you're at best, if you can travel back the same speed that you traveled there, you're 33 days from camp, and you have a week and a half worth of food. And the problem is, you could say, tough it out, but when you're in the Arctic and the temperatures can get down to negative 77, you need food because your body's
tough it out. You're in the middle of nowhere. This isn't buck up, kiddo. It's you have bucked up, and now you're out of shit. I think a lot of people are well, you can live a week without food. It's yeah, not when you're walking 10 miles a day through Arctic weather. You can live a week without food if you do what I do and just sit in a computer chair all day.
Watch Netflix, play video games, right? But so anyway, they knew they were kind of not in the best situation, to put it mildly. But the first couple days on their journey back, they made pretty good time. And then Mawson developed snow blindness, which that really fucking sucks when you're in a hurry to get back somewhere. And what also seems to suck is they said the other guy, Mertz, that was left, they had some lotion for snow blindness that they'd rub into your eyes, and it was a mix of zinc sulfate and cocaine, which probably felt worse than the snow blindness, and I don't imagine it actually helped that much.
Well, you got fucking hyped as shit. You're ready to do some Wall Street shit in Antarctica.
So, but he did get over his snow blindness in a couple days, and then a terrible blizzard hit, and it was so bad that they had to literally tether themselves to the sled to keep from getting lost, because you couldn't see more than, like a foot away. Yeah. And when there's no land markers but a giant sheet of ice, it'd be really easy to just wander off course slightly.
It's got to be a great feeling, like, my friend, I can see, and then just you see a storm coming, and fuck.
Now I can't again. Wouldn't that fuck with your head? Am I snowblind again, or can I just not see? I hate having my senses
Am I blind
hampered.
or does God hate me? I can't tell anymore.
Maybe both.
Fuck, dude.
So by this point, of course, they were out of food, and they had to resort to they started eating the weakest of their dogs, which wasn't particularly pleasant. Especially since these huskies, they don't have food either. Obviously, if there was dog food left, they'd be eating the dog food.
Yeah, you're just chewing on bone at that point.
That's what I said. The problem was there's not a whole lot of meat on them, and then they would eat the liver. But they did. Here's some good news. After a few days of having to survive on dog, they discovered that if you boil it long enough, parts of it become particularly palatable because they boil down to basically a gelatinous meat. And then you can drink the soup for additional sustenance. So things are bad when that's the good news. Hey, we can eat dog jelly and drink the soup.
Well, the upside here is this is just disgusting.
And apparently the best part of the dog for that was the paws, which seems weird.
Okay. But I don't plan on trying it, but it's good to know.
So that's but if it ever comes up, that's what boil the paws and it'll become jelly, dog jelly. Surprisingly, by January 5th, so this would have been, what did I say, the 14th, so about 2.5 weeks after their friend died, and they had to turn around and they lost all their supplies. Surprisingly, their health was rapidly declining.
Oh.
And this is what Mawson literally wrote in his journal. It said, Mertz's condition was increasingly bad, with the skin coming off his legs, etc. What the fuck kind of etc. is that?
Yeah. What? He's melting like the fucking Nazis at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you're like...
And etc. The things that happen to one when they're in bad condition.
His skin was coming off, yada, yada, yada. His jaw fell off. You can't just etc.
Bada bing, bada boom. His eyeball fell out.
Jesus Christ,
popped
dude.
Right out.
This is the worst fucking thing ever.
Mm-hmm. But Mawson knew that their best chance at survival was to just keep pressing as much as they physically could. Mertz, on the other hand, whose skin was falling off of his legs, said he could use a day's rest to significantly improve his condition. So they spent 24 hours bunkered down. Mawson took that time to, they were just in their sleeping bags. And I say that like it's a slumber party sleeping bag. They're in these fucking fur sacks in this makeshift.
All right, but I'm going to stop you, sorry. But if you're on an expedition or you're in some survival situation and it's desperate, the moment somebody's like, I just need a day, that person's dying.
Yeah.
You have to.
You're picking up on important psychological cues.
Yeah. That's, that's somebody who is rolling over.
And he even put Mawson, the one that's not having his, he is too, but the one that's in the slightly better condition leading this expedition, he even put that. He's like, he knew they were within 100 miles from camp, which, man, that must feel like fucking forever. If somebody told me today I had to walk 100 miles, I'd be like, I can probably do it in a month, but fuck, that's going to suck.
A 100-mile drive right now sounds like torture.
Right.
So.
But he knew that, but considering they were a little over 300 when they started their turn trip, I guess if you're an optimist, you could say, hey, we're on the final part of it. I don't know. I'm a pessimist. I look at that as I'm barely halfway there, but whatever. He knew that he said if he went on alone, he knew he could make it, or he thought he could, but he just would not leave this other guy. He didn't have the heart to just leave him.
Hoorah, etc.
Mm-hmm. So they wait 24 hours, and then that would have been January 6th. So on January 7th, he awoke to find Mertz delirious, and he had also developed diarrhea and soiled himself and his sleeping bag.
So the rest was all he needed. Now the diarrhea will propel
everything
him
was
the
done.
last 100 miles.
Right, you know how fast you move. All he needed to do is say, hey, the restroom's right back at base camp. You know how fast you move when you got to take a dump, and like...
Just some guy who's just fucking...
clinching and doing that like waddle that you do when you really, really have to crap. But
because his skin's falling off, I just imagine him like just a skeleton grabbing his ass and like doing that kind of bow-legged hop to camp.
But it said it took Mawson most of the day to get him cleaned up and get his sleeping bag cleaned up. And I thought, man, what a fucking good friend this guy is.
Jesus,
like,
yeah, dude.
I'd be like, yeah, that sucks.
That's
good
fucking
luck.
Friendship, dude. If that dude gets out of this alive, like you owe him every trip to the airport.
So he gets him cleaned up. By 8 p.m., Mertz had once again become delirious and in a fit broke one of the tent poles. So you could tell he was doing that. It's weird because in both the original story I was going to do and this one, delirium come into it. And back then, late 1800s, early 1900s, probably even bigger scope than that, delirium is just kind of a term prescribed to somebody's acting weird. Like, so you don't know exactly what kind of delirium. Like, is he shouting to himself, which I fucking would be if I'm stuck in the middle of the Antarctic?
Yeah.
Or is he like, and he's throwing shit, but I would be doing that too. Like, am I really crazy? Or is that a normal response to knowing that you're in the middle of nowhere freezing to death?
So you call it delirium. I say we're fucked, and I'm responding rationally.
Right. But Mawson had to hold Mertz down, and that kind of eventually kind of calmed him down, and he helped him back into his sleeping bag. And then at about 2 in the morning, at about 2 a.m., Mertz died. It says he died of exposure and the fever that developed because of it. So now there's Mawson.
Just our friend Mawson.
Mawson, yeah. And keep in mind, this blizzard that was so bad they had to tether themselves to the sled is still going on, like through this whole thing. So over the next few days, Mawson sticks around. He said he was able to like bury Mertz under these like chunks of ice he was able to dig up and, give him a burial and read him his burial rites. I kind of call bullshit on that. That's kind of the thing that you say to not feel bad about yourself when you get back to camp.
The fact that you actually took him back to the crevasse.
And at the risk of being sued by Mawson's descendants, I kind of wonder, let's pause for a second and look back over the last 48 hours. This guy shit himself. He's delirious. His skin's falling off. And then he dies peacefully in his sleep. Or did he? I don't know. I'm just throwing that in there. There's no actual thing that I read where he was ever under any suspension of anything.
I mean, we only have his word. But
yeah, but putting myself in Mawson's place,
to be
like,
fair,
I put up with a lot. You just shit yourself. I'm hitting you over the head with this post, and I'm going on.
To be fair, if he was that kind of dude, wouldn't he do that earlier? Like, why would he hang out and clean up shit? If he could just
who says he cleaned up shit though? That's the thing.
But I'm saying, like, he would have kept going. Like, his progress wouldn't have been impeded. Then again,
unless he twisted his ankle while murdering his friend. Who knows?
Then again, we only have his records to know like where he was at what points. So, who knows? But
for those keeping score of the days, a couple days later, it was the 11th. The blizzard finally died down, and Mawson was able to set off, and he made it a couple miles, but then his feet were just fucking killing him. Every step he took, it was just agony is how they put it. So, first I want to read this because this description of his condition was great too. We've been talking about Mertz and his stuff was bad. Mawson's not a lot better. It said his skin was split open from his nose and mouth from the cold. His hair was falling out. And the best description, because I don't know why you would put this in your journal, but he did. That's where this is all coming from. Is that his groin was rubbed raw from the reduced condition, friction, and dampness from walking. And as a guy, I know exactly what the fuck he's talking about, but I hadn't thought of that.
I was just going to jokingly say, my balls hurt. And like, turns out I'm not too far off.
But it's good to know that that uncomfortable chafing feeling that we get is bad enough that it ranks up there with skin and hair falling off and splitting open from the cold and frostbite. Like, chafing balls is just as bad as all that stuff, apparently, because he wrote about it.
That's a great thing. Like, in modern society, it's just kind of like, oh, this is unpleasant. But in a survival situation, like, it's like, this
well, that's the thing. Like,
this
if
is
that
really
happens,
impeding.
Maybe it's really humid and you've been out playing baseball or something, or basketball, and it happens. But, you know, there's a shower waiting for you, at least within a couple hours away. Like, at some point, you're going to get to take a shower. He's in the middle of nowhere, and there's no shower in sight, so you just have to, like, grit your teeth, if there's any teeth left, and bear it. But anyway, so he was, at least the blizzard let up, and he was able to make some progress until his feet became so painful that he couldn't. So he decided to sit down and take his boots off to figure out what the problem was.
All right, so he's done.
The skin had fucking come off the soles of his feet, and there was just open wounds and weeping blisters there.
Fuck. Like, did anyone, when shit first started going wrong, did anyone say, like, hey, Moz, like, what the fuck are we doing out here, man?
That's what's, you'd think that, and that's kind of what I thought too. But then if you go back and look at the timeline, 33 days, things went mostly okay. Like, they had those weird omens and some close calls, but everything was going good. And then from the point where the first guy died to this point, you're talking 2 weeks. And things deteriorated really fucking quick. Like, that's why I have no interest in trekking out in the middle of nowhere, because things can go from, hey, this is working out just as planned, to the skin just fell off my feet in 2 weeks. But the problem is you're 5 weeks away from camp, so...
Well, that's the thing, like, these expeditions, like, it's just to say you did it, but it's like, you bring 5 people, 4 of you are dying, basically guaranteed.
And the one that doesn't wishes they did.
Right. They don't have feet anymore, and their fucking groins all chafed up. And it's like, and you're snow blind. Right. But good job, man. You made it. Like,
you're hearing voices in your head. The penguins are talking to you.
You will never be the same again.
So he takes his boots off and his skin has fallen off his feet. So what's he do? He's got some lanolin, which I had to look up because I don't know what lanolin is. But apparently it's a lotion made up of almost 100%. Like, it's basically sheep fat. Okay. And he rubs that into the wounds. I suppose,
that's
when you
have...
fucking
fucking worst image. God damn it. This is
it's like the aloe of its day. And then he bandages his skin back to his feet. So at least he had the forethought to be like, well, the skin's still there. If I tape it on, that's basically the same thing, right?
This is so fucked up. Like, I hate everything about this imagery.
Right. And it's not getting better. So anyway, he bandages his feet back together, and then he has to spend the next day, he doesn't go anywhere because he just bandaged his feet back together. But because people in the early 1900s were way the fuck stronger, like more hardy, I guess, than us, he took 1 day off and then started marching again.
Sure, fucking why not?
So that was January 13th, and then there wasn't much like of note for the next 4 days. But on January 17th...
4 days, like his feet are falling apart.
Well, this is the best part. So it says on January 17th, Mawson's greatest fear was realized. So all this other stuff wasn't his greatest fear. It was just a concern of his.
Well, this could happen, so...
But his greatest fear was realized when he fell through a fucking crevasse. But... fortunately for him, the crack in the ice was just slightly smaller than the length of the sled that he had tied himself to. So dude falls 14 feet. It said the force of the sled the rope pulling taunt felt like it nearly cut him in half. Because this is just a fucking rope. It's not a bungee jumping harness. It's a rope around your waist. You're half dead to begin with. Now you're dangling 14 feet below your sled over a seemingly bottomless pit. And he literally described it. He was just kind of spinning and like swinging back and forth. And you can hear the sled creaking above you. he was sure that at any moment it would just give and he'd get smashed in the face by the sled as we both go tumbling down into this chasm. He manages to claw and climb his way out with bleeding frostbit fingers. And it talks about how he would make his way up and then, you know, your hands are bloody. He would slip back down and I'd be like, fuck. But he kept at it. He gets out of it and he gets back up and he makes camp right there on the edge of it because by that point you're just fucking done.
You're not moving.
No. It talked about he laid there an hour before he even made camp because you're not doing anything else.
Yeah, I'm in perfect health, and if I had to do that, I would be done for the day.
I literally put that in the note. I said, if you think climbing a rope in gym class is hard, and I do because I'm fat and unathletic.
Imagine if that shit like busts your spine to shit first.
And your hands are frostbit, and your skin's falling off, and you're starving to death because you haven't had an actual meal in weeks. Whatever. So he makes it out, and he eventually gets the strength back to make camp, you know, get in his sleeping bag or whatever, and get in his shelter. And because he's way the fuck smarter than me, he also spent part of that night fashioning a rope ladder that he could attach to the sled and to himself.
What the fuck?
Just in case something like that happened again. Which it did the very next day.
Oh, I laughed to not cry.
But at least he's fucking smart. I wouldn't have done it. I'd been like, well, I survived that. That's not happening again. Fuck. So it doesn't really talk about his climbing up out of the crevasse the next day. I imagine it was slightly less eventful when you have rope ladders still suck, and you'd still be recouping from climbing out of the rope the day before, but he made it out.
You're swinging around and shit, and you're sure you're going to die, but the climb's slightly easier, so.
So by the end of January, he was only making about 5 miles a day, and so that's like a little over a 5K that, you know...
Sure.
To me, that's still impressive, but when you're trying to get back to like civilization and you're 100 miles away, that's not as fast as you want to be going. But at least he's making progress. Another blizzard came up, but he forced himself to march another 8 miles during that blizzard because the worse it got, he has that like survivor's mentality, like, fuck, things are bad. I better keep pushing because if I don't, I'm going to be the dude that died in his sleep, you know, a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
Well, when that blizzard finally lifted the next day, fortunately for him, that was a short one, and it lifts, and he could see the coast, which was great because that told him he was only 40 miles from base camp and 30 miles from the nearest supply depot that he knew of, which I made a note of it because I thought it was weird. They left supplies 10 miles from base camp when you're going out 300 miles. Like, wouldn't you leave your supply depot a little... By that point, you're fucking back home. That's like the whole, like, I don't know if your family's ever gone on a road trip and then you're coming back and they want to stop at a Red Roof Inn, but you're like an hour and a half from home.
Right. It's like, no, I want my bed.
And the best part is this depot was left in a place called Aladdin Cave. So I just think that's an interesting name.
Cave of Wonders.
Right. You get there and you're like, the supplies, fuck, it's just a lamp.
Wait a minute. Is it? Oh, shit. Yeah, it is.
So, and I don't know, they didn't give specific dates for those two events, but he knew at least he was getting there. On January 29th, they did give a date for this. Another storm came up, but he managed to spot a low cairn. And if you're not familiar with that is, I always forget. It's a man-made like mound of stones, and they use them a lot in Arctic exploration. I've read a lot about Arctic exploration because it's one of the things that I'm fascinated in because it's so fucking terrible. Like, I don't read it like, oh, I wish to do that someday. I read it like, what the hell is wrong with people? Because it never ends well. Like, even the ones where they make it to the pole and back, it's like, yeah, we made it to the pole and back, and I sawed off my foot because they had frostbite.
Right. I hope these people found whatever it was they were looking for out there.
But the good news when you find a cairn is, you know, it's man-made, so he made his way over to it, and sure enough, it was there was some fresh fruit and a note. The people back at base camp, when these guys didn't come back, realized we better leave some, like, markers for them. And so that's a pretty good spirit lifter after all of this shit. But to balance things out, the storm that had blown up was the worst storm he had ever seen, and it forced him to take shelter there for 8 days. Which really fucking sucks when you're need dying. To get home, you're dying, and you know you're finally close, but now you can't move. But But the good news is I'm getting towards the end of my story. After the storm lifted on February 8th, Mawson was able to make his way back to camp. They didn't give did he make his way back to camp? It was 40 miles. I suspect it took about another week if he was making it.
It took him like a week. It took what was left of his feet like 2 more weeks.
2 months. So the good news is he makes it back into camp on February 8th. It couldn't have even taken him that long. At some of these dates, you're trying to go through them in your head and keep track of them. And it's like, I wonder how accurate these dates are. But anyway, he makes it back into camp just in time to see his ship on the horizon heading back towards Australia. Too far out to signal it, too far out for them to turn around and come back. So, that for me would be the heartbreaker. The good news for Mawson is they did leave a team back at base camp in case anybody showed up. So there was help there was food, there was supplies. But that meant he would have to wait another full year before returning back to Australia. Now,
I'm shell-shocked
right now. This shows how fucked up this guy is, though. I hear that, and that would be my, I don't care that I made it back. I can't, I'm stuck here for a year. Just fucking, jump in the water. He was actually glad that he had to stay there a year because he said it gave him a year in peace and quiet to recover before returning back to, the hubbub of civilized life, or whatever you want to put it.
All that ballyhoo back home.
You would think after all of that, and he was fucked up from, there actually is a picture, if like you said with your vampire thing, one of my citations to the article, if you go there, there's a picture of him back at base camp, and holy fuck, does he look bad, shockingly. But he seemed to be happy staying there another year, so whatever. After that, he returned back home. He became a professor in geology. He did serve in World War I. So when you talked about fighting Nazis, it sounded like he was probably more on the scientific front than the battle front.
Also, World War I, that wasn't Nazis. That was just Germany, right?
Yeah. Axis powers, I guess.
Whatever the fuck.
But close enough. And he lived out his day. One of the things that he said kept him going was he did have a fiance back home who he married when he got back. Apparently she likes a guy with no feet. That fortunately wasn't a deal breaker for her.
Love is a powerful thing, friends. And if you're a loveless school like I am, you would get 1 mile in that expedition and be like, fuck this, and jump into a crevasse. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's what happened to the first guy. He knew what was coming, and he's like, I just want to die quick. Although I did make a note of that. You got to assume that first guy that fell in, you hope he died suddenly from the fall and didn't land somewhere way down there but not die.
Well, legend has it, he's still falling.
It's cold enough. It froze him alive. If you thaw him out, he's still there. Captain America. I guess that'd be Captain Australia.
No, it's Captain America. We just took him from Australia.
So there's really no huge, after all this horrible stuff, he lives. And you got to wonder, though, it's and he recovered. How much do you actually recover?
Is it weird that, cleaning up diarrhea seems like one of the worst parts of that?
No, that's what I thought.
That sounds fucking
Especially
terrible.
Cleaning up diarrhea in the Arctic where everything is fur. You don't have running water.
Yeah, it's God damn it, dude.
You couldn't just crawl out of your stuff and shit in the snow.
Yeah, you don't even have to go out there. Just point your ass out the opening and spray. Just don't bring it in here.
But he went on. He lived till he was 76 and then died from a brain hemorrhage. So
the silent killer.
One last kind of fun fact: it was later figured out that the health conditions that he and Mertz went through, including the skin loss, the hair loss, the delirium, the diarrhea, were all likely caused by eating the dog's livers because they have an unusually high amount of vitamin A, and it's enough to cause a condition known as hypervitaminosis. Basically, they had way too much vitamin A and it poisoned them.
Oh, wow.
But it does kind of help me sleep better at night knowing that, if it gets really cold one winter, my skin's not just going to start falling off unless I eat way too much vitamin A.
But you might have to.
But isn't that the real bitch of it? Yeah. The thing you have to do to survive is the thing that also is killing you.
That's why, when you hear stories about cannibalism, it's such a, like, fucking terrible, like, you don't really win in that situation because you need to eat something, but
it's like, also poisoning you.
Right. And so it's, or like when people are lost at sea and they're, like, drinking salt water or some shit. It's like, that's actually not helping you at all.
No. Well, and that's what I looked into that recently for something else, not podcast related, but I was kind of curious. I'm like, why does salt water kill you when you drink it? And it's because your liver can't process it, so it kicks into overdrive, and you basically piss yourself to death. You dehydrate.
Wow. And so
initially, it's great because you're getting the water you need because you're thirsty, and then your body is immediately ejecting it, and you die of pain. Dehydration death is not fun, although that's what you're dying from already anyway. But liver failure just adds that extra layer of flavor on.
You're hitting the NOS button if you drink salt water.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like I said, I came across this, and when it's titled like the worst expedition ever,
they're not fucking kidding. Like, I feel like a goddamn chump today because, hey, vampires, huh? And then, like, you bring this shit, and now I'm like, I need to, like, just sit and think about this for like 3 hours.
I listened to an Eddie Vedder album.
Like, that's the thing. I'm, like, actually nervous about having to edit this show because I don't want to relive it. Like, that's such a fucked up story.
And it's perfectly paced for a fucked up story because it's
God,
la la la. They're journeying out here, and there's some weird omens, but things are going good, and they're singing their songs. And Bill just fell down a hole.
Yeah, just imagine, like, you and me both have gone hiking and on walks or whatever. Imagine if your friend behind you just disappeared, and like you're like, what the fuck? That's just the
start of the bad things. Like, looking back, that was almost the least bad thing that happens.
Right. You're fucking, when the highlight of your fucking expedition was your friend got vanished like he was in Friday the 13th or some shit, then, like, you're in for the worst ride ever.
And like I said, it's got all the perfect stuff. You turn around, your friend's gone, you crawl back, and you can tell from the little bits that you can piece together that he's down in the bottom of this thing and he's dead, and you're like, fuck. And then it dawned on you, he had all of our stuff. Fuck. Like,
that's another good thing to take away from it. Don't ever give one person all your stuff.
Well, that's one of the things that I thought, because this guy, this was his second expedition, but and you could tell from some of the stuff that he did that he was a relatively good survivor, and he knew how to deal with the stuff out there, and shedding the sled and going down to 2 wasn't a bad move per se. But then when you read that almost all the food was on one sled,
that's a bad idea.
Then you kind of go, wait, why did you do that? And then the tent's a 50-50. You have one tent. And you'd like to say, well, then why didn't you have 2? But part of these expeditions is you have to go with the least amount of
you need what's necessary.
Possibly can. Right. Like, you cannot have an extra 20, 30, 50 pounds is too much.
Losing the tent's one thing, but like dividing the food is something that I think can be helped.
Right. And you got it from the morbid standpoint. You say, oh, we've lost half the food, but we also lost a third of the people, so it'll go further.
Oh my God, dude. That is such a fucking good story. Like, you weren't kidding. Like, that. I'm glad you last minute that shit in, because that's...
Like I said, I was just tossing the one I had over and over, and it was an expedition to the Arctic, so on the other side of the world, and it didn't go great, but it wasn't like this. Yeah. And I couldn't piece it together in like a entertaining way, and I thought, fuck, well, I've already got this theme. Let me do some looking, and I found this, and my fate, like, as terrible as it seems, it's a horrible story, but you're like, this will be awesome to talk about.
This is genuinely one of the most horrifying stories I've ever heard. So, bravo. This has been episode 4 of the Non-Essential Podcast.
Next, join us for, it could be worse or it could be better next week, or sometimes worse is better.
I don't know what the fuck it'll be anymore. I don't know what this show is anymore. I'm so fucking...
Need some time to process.
I'm going to need, like, Maybe we should take a week off. No, we'll be back next week.
Episode 5 has been rocking back and forth in his chair.
Yeah, actually, episode 5 will be me going on this expedition for myself to see if it's really so bad. Coming to you live with penguins.
Oh, I'd tune in for that. I'd be rooting for you too. I'm not a jerk.
I'd probably fall I wouldn't even get on my sled. I would fall into a crevasse.
But like I said, this is one of those stories where it's hard to tell who the winner was. It's like, yeah, he made it back alive.
Fucking no one won.
Right.
Like, no one wins this shit, dude. Like, yeah, you survived, but not really. Like, we have photos of you now.
He went on and had apparently, by all accounts, a very productive life. He had married his fiancée.
We don't even know that, though. How do we know it wasn't some fucking, like, the alien from The Thing?
Right. You talk about, like, PTSD. Can you imagine, like, when they invented air conditioning finally, and he was like, no fucking air conditioning in this house. It's going to be 1,000 degrees at all times.
I will not feel the sun again.
Honey, they have these new things called refrigerators. No.
Nope. I've had cold meat. It sucks. You have to make fucking Jell-O soup. It's terrible.
Your skin falls off. Your hair falls out. Your groin gets raw.
I'm full of vitamin A, damn it.
So anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you can sleep well tonight. Follow us on Twitter at Nonessential Pod. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on iTunes. We're everywhere.
We're everywhere. And goddamn, yeah. This is the end of the show. I'm fucked up now. Like, that's terrible.